Hello and welcome to the subject 49048 wireless networking technologies. My name is Kumbesan Chandrasekharan, Sandy for short. So I created this subject back in 2002, and this subject has been running successfully for the past um, 14 years at UTS. This subject is a postgraduate subject. This is a 6 credit point subject that usually runs in the autumn semesters in standard mode, and I'm going to go through a description of what this subject is all about. Most of what I'm going to say is in the subject outline, which is available on UTS Online, and we'll be using UTS Online for a major part of this subject. Now, what does this subject cover? So the main idea of this subject is to try and educate you about as many different wireless networking technologies as possible. So the aim is to initially to try and get an idea of how the particular technology evolved, what is the architecture, meaning what are the network components and the interfaces that make up that technology, how does it work, how does it perform important functions such as radio resource management, mobility management, traffic management, and so forth. And so in the first couple of lectures we are going to have some kind of a foundation knowledge on wireless networks, and thereafter we're going to look at the systems aspects. So we're going to focus on 2G GSM systems, followed by 2.5G GPRS technology, then 3G UMTS, Universal Mobile Telecommunication System technology, and then we'll have a look at 4G mobile technologies. We'll also have a look at wireless local area networks. In fact, most of the lab work that you do in this will be based on wireless local area network. The objectives of this subject is that once you learn about the various technologies, you should be able to apply system level thinking to understand how the wireless networks evolved, what are their requirements, how are they standardized, and also about architecture. And most importantly, the most important interface is the interface in all of these protocols. So how does that work? What are the protocols that are used throughout the networks and procedures, performance of the network, as well as some aspects of security of the system. You should also be able to perform some problem solving activities to evaluate the performance and planning of these networks. As I said earlier, we are going to focus on wireless LANs for the lab part of this subject. So you're going to you're going to find out how to measure and analyze the practical performance of wireless LAN, and both infrastructure based wireless LAN as well as ad hoc based wireless LANs. Okay, on the second page of the subject outline, intended learning outcomes, as well as some Engineering Australia Stage 1 competencies relevant to this subject. So this subject is going to be delivered in a different way. We are going to use something called flipped learning. Most of the lectures have been recorded and have been placed through UTS Online, and you will be able to go through the videos before the classes, and when you come to class, come well prepared so we can have some discussions about the concepts covered in the videos. And then we will also have regular quizzes in this subject. So this subject is designed so that you engage with the subject material by having regular quizzes, and these quizzes will serve as self-assessment to ensure that your learning is appropriate and on track. So next I will go to the program. So as you can see in the program, Between is a period referred to as transition to study, and so there will be no lectures during this time, but I'm expecting you to study important wireless essentials and before the first class, and you're also expected to go through this introductory video, which is so in the first session, which is on I will give you an introduction to the subject and also about the UTS online resources, and we will start off with some basic calculations on wireless networks, and we will move on to session 2 material, and in session 2 material we will have sort of an introduction to wireless transmission. So it's very important that you go through some of the information which I've referred to as the following week 28th. There are no classes this week, and I'm expecting you to go through the video of session 1 and session 2 and prepare for quiz number 1, which is going to be held on the 4th of April. The first hour we will spend going through session 1 and session 2, and this is a point at which you can ask questions about session 1 and session 2, and I'll also present some of the important ideas. Thereafter we will go into the lab and you will do quiz number 1 there for session 1 and 2, and after the quiz there will be a group discussion in the lab. You will get answers to the quiz questions, and you will also have some discussion about some of the lab work that you're doing. In week 4 we will again have no classes this week, and I'm expecting you to go through session 3 and session 4 in your own time. Prepare for quiz number 2, which will be on the following week. So the following week is week 5, and here again we start off by revising the material in session 3 and session 4. So it will be like a tutorial, and you will be able to ask questions that you have, and I will also pose some questions to you during this tutorial session. And thereafter you will go into the lab to do quiz number 2, and immediately after quiz number 2 you will stay in the lab and you will have a discussion about the quiz number 2 as well as some aspects of the lab. So remember, the lab's activities that I'm expecting you to do on your own, and you should use the group discussion time to ask questions from your tutor about the labs. Now the following week referred to as student vacation week, so there are no classes during this week, and the week after that, which corresponds to session 6, is when again we won't have a class on this day, but this is the time for you to go through session 5 and session 6 and prepare for quiz number 3, which is going to be held on the following week. So again, in session 7th on the 9th of May we start off by going through session 5 and 6 material, in which you can ask questions, and we will then go to quiz number 3, where you will undertake quiz number 3 and then have a group discussion as in the weeks before. The following week, week 8, there are no classes this week, so again I'm expecting you to watch the video for session 7 and session 8 and prepare for quiz number 4 next week. And in week 9 we will have a tutorial session for session 7 and session 8 material, and followed by a quiz number 4, and then a group discussion. You should also have discussions on your lab, because we're getting very close to your lab test now. And the following week, which is the week that you will have your lab test. So by this point in time, by the 30th of May, you should have completed all the labs, and you should have all your lab readings recorded in your lab handbook, and you can use your lab handbook during the lab test. And on the same week after your lab test, I would encourage you to start going through session 9 and session 10 material so as to prepare for quiz number 5 the following week. Quiz number 5 will be based on session 9, which is 4G networks, and session 10 radio resource material. So this will bring us to week 11, and this is the last week of the teaching semester. And we'll again start off by having some tutorial for session 9 and session 10, so you can raise all your doubts about session 9 and session 10, and followed by quiz number 5, and then we'll have a group discussion. Now remember, this is the last week of the teaching, and so we'll also have a little bit of final exam revision, and the final exam will be held in the weeks what is referred to as the UTS formal exam period, and the exam timetable will be available later on in the semester, and you can find out when your final exam will be held. And again, one of the important things you have to know is that you must pass the final exam to pass the subject. So in terms of assessments, we have 3 important assessments in this subject. The first assessment is the term exam. Term exams are held throughout the semester, and as we've seen earlier in the program, we saw there were 5 quizzes. So these 5 quizzes form part of the term exam. So, and they address objectives 1 and 2 of the subject. So altogether, the term exams form 30% of the subject mark, and they are taken individually. An exam on UTS Online, it's an online quiz, and as I've already indicated to you the dates on which those quizzes will be held. The second assessment task in this subject is the labs. Okay, as I mentioned to you earlier, the labs are based on performance of wireless LANs. So these lab tasks can be done in a group, but in terms of assessment, they will be done individually. They form 20% of the subject mark. Now, more details about the lab tasks are available on UTS Online, and the lab test is given on the weekly schedule. The third important assessment task in this subject is the final exam, which is probably the most important one because it forms 50% of the subject mark, and it will cover the entire whatever you've studied in this subject. So the purpose of the final exam is to test the overall understanding of the subject contents, and again, it's an individual exam. It will be based on UTS Online. So in order to pass this subject, you have to achieve a minimum of 50% in the final exam of the subject, and obviously you have to also get more than 50% or more in the subject mark. And the recommended text for this subject is the one that's given here. So it's Joshin Chiller, Mobile Communication 2nd edition. This book is available in the library, and it covers about 50% of the subject, and I will be providing supplementary notes on UTS Online. Okay, so that's about it for now, and you will have more questions, and I will answer some of those questions in our first session.